Hello there, people of the internet. How is everybody doing today? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. So, I want to go ahead and talk about what you're most likely going to end up seeing in an SHTF sort of situation because I think it's very different than what a lot of people have in their mind. Now, whenever we're talking about this particular topic, we're not talking about like the actual situation. It could be zombies, it could be nuclear Armageddon, it could be another horrifying virus, it could be political division and some sort of civil unrest, maybe some sort of war, could be invasion from some other direction. There's just no really way to tell what last spark is going to light that fuse to become a real significant situation. But rather, I want to talk about the firearms that you're most likely going to come across inside of a SHTF situation. And I think that this is probably going to be quite different than what a lot of people are going to think of. Whenever I see people down in my comments below, they'll tell me about what they think is like the greatest. And they're like, if you're going to rock an AR-15, you need a 20-inch barrel because anything less is just completely not deadly. Or if you have anything less than a 30-06 semi-automatic rifle, like an M1 Grand right here, then you're basically rocking a BB gun and nothing's going to be effective. Or if you have a 9mm, then who cares what you have to say because you can't hurt anyone with that anyway, or something along those lines. Like, they have this mindset of this is the ideal, so anyone who doesn't have this is just a non-factor. And I see this sort of stuff like literally all the time in the YouTube comments down below. It's normally a comment that rolls around the realms of, hey, I have this experience. I have like a paragraph of I have this experience, a paragraph of I have this loadout, and a paragraph of this is my reasoning why I have this loadout, and everyone else should have this loadout as well. Well, I hate to tell you guys, but in a perfect world where something like that would be ideal, then hats off to you. But the world we're living is not a perfect world, and most of the time, most of the things that you would come across in an SHTF situation are probably not going to be what most people would want. And a lot of that comes with cost, ease of manufacture, legality stuff, just a bunch of different factors. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to immediately, where is it at? Immediately think about coming across something like this right here. This right here is an AR platform. They would probably, in their mind, think of something that is not necessarily a retro build like this right here, but something that has a 20-inch barrel on it, but maybe something that has a 20-inch barrel, but also has all of your modern features like what I have right here. I got red dot on this thing. I got a magnifier on this thing. I got some backup iron sights for if any of that goes down, so I can co-witness through my red dot here. For all intents and purposes, this right here is a pretty gosh darn good setup for an AR. Now this right here is just my coyote hunting gun, and it has served me extremely well, but this is a 16-inch barrel, and I don't care what barrel length it is that you think is best, 16-inch barrels are going to be the most predominant because that is what is most predominant on the market. Most of your dirt cheap ARs, which is what is going to be populating a dramatic amount of people rocking ARs just because of that cost, most of your dirt cheap ARs are going to have that 16-inch barrel. Some people are going to go out and say, hey, go out and get yourself a 10-inch or a 14.5 or whatever sort of barrel length it is that you think is ideal. But because of legal reasons, most people aren't going out to do that. You can go out and get yourself a pistol that has a brace on it, fine and dandy. Most people don't want to walk that red line. Most people want a rifle that has an actual stock on it. Most people are okay with a rifle that is 16 inches. Now, you also have the people who go out and try to find that 20-inch, but that's just not going to be something that most people go to because the 20-inch barrels tend to be more expensive than your 16-inch barrels. The 20-inch barrels tend to be retro builds, and they tend to be like I said, a little bit pricier, a little bit more of a niche firearm as opposed to the extraordinarily common, available everywhere AR platform that is something of this design. We got the telescoping stock, we got the M-LOK Picatinny rail handguard, we got the Picatinny rail flat top, and we got the 16-inch barrel. This right here, by a huge margin, makes up just a tremendous number of ARs out there on the market. And even the ARs that are more of a quote-unquote retro build that have maybe like the M4 style round handguard on it or something like that, maybe a carry handle on top, most of the time those are going to be 16-inch barrels as well. I don't care if you like a 20-inch or not, most people are not going to be rocking a 20-inch, so if you come across an AR in the end of times, then the odds of it being a 20-inch are actually pretty significantly low. And if you don't believe me, think about the number of people around you that own ARs. How many of them own one that is a 20-inch? The ones that do own 20 inches, how many 16 inches do they own? You might come across a guy who only owns one AR or two ARs or a very small amount where he has only 20 inches, but that's definitely not going to be the norm. Another really popular firearm that you're probably going to find is some sort of bolt-action hunting rifle. As a matter of fact, if I had to take a pick for the most numerous style of firearm that you're going to find in an end-of-the-world situation, it's probably going to be something like this right here. This is a 5-shot bolt-action 308 that has a 3x9 scope on it. This particular one has iron sights on it, but this is a good example of what you're most likely going to find. Just because hunting rifles are available all across the United States versus something like an AR, which has some certain restrictions on it in certain areas of the United States. Not only that, but the gun owners that own ARs, that's fine and dandy, but the gun owners that own these bolt-action rifles, many of them believe that you shouldn't own something like an AR, but they're fine with you owning something like a bolt-action rifle. So they're not going to go out and own themselves an AR. There's a lot of people out there who own something like this right here for hunting season, but they do not own something like an AR platform. I think that the bolt-action hunting rifle is going to be the most predominant because even people who own ARs tend to own some kind of bolt-action rifle as well. That's not necessarily something that they're going to be actively using, but it is at least in their arsenal. Now, I am looking for something specific. Let's see, where did that run off to? Don't worry, guys, I found it. I think the next most common firearm that you're going to find is going to be some sort of lever-action rifle, most likely something in 30-30. There's a lot of places around the United States where the lever-action rifle is still the dominant rifle in those areas. Personally, I think that the AR platform is the dominant rifle in the United States right now. It just seems to be spreading like absolute wildfire, especially at the price point, especially at the capabilities. But all the ARs that are spreading like wildfire across the United States, they're 16-inch barrels, they're modern setups like what I got down there. You're not going to find very many retro builds in a bad time sort of situation. You're probably going to find some lever actions. You're probably going to mostly find scoped hunting bolt action rifles. But in the event that you come across, I don't know, somebody like me, you might even find somebody rocking a couple of milsurp rifles. I'm willing to bet that a good number of those bolt action rifles are probably going to be sporterized milsurp rifles, like what I have right here. This is a 1917 in 30-06. I'm willing to bet that most of your bolt-action rifles are going to be 30-06 or 308. That seems to be the most popular hunting cartridges here in the United States right now. You're probably going to come across some other ones, but if you manage to find a 30-06 and a 308, then you're basically on top of the game because that's what most people are going to be rocking. But I'm betting that you're going to find a lot of sporterized military surplus firearms. I'm also betting that you're going to find a lot of non-sporterized ones. Do I have any non-sporterized ones that are here and ready to grab? I don't see one. I'm going to have to dig one out, aren't I? Here we go. Grab a good old-fashioned Mosin Nagant 9130. This is a really good example of a rifle that you're probably going to come across in an SHTF situation. You might even come across several of these in that sort of bad time. But just because of the limitations of this rifle, I'm willing to bet that the previous owner will probably not be around if they decide to rock this in a bad time sort of situation. Most of the distances that most encounters will be taking place at, if things get that bad, is probably going to be within 100 yards. And it's probably going to be within like 50 yards, but I'm willing to bet that it would probably be within 100 yards. It will definitely be within the realms of what 5.56 is capable of handling, even from a 16-inch barrel. And if you get somebody with modern optics on their rifle, I don't care how good you think you are with iron sights and a 5-shot bolt-action rifle, like, you're just gonna have a wall of lead coming at you. If you decide to rock something like that in a bad time and actually take it into a combat situation, then that is just not smart. All right, so these are a couple of your most likely firearms to come across, and I feel like that is a pretty gosh darn good list. But at the end of the day, I think that there are two real dominant firearms, like firearm styles, that you're most likely to come across. Number one, the 22 long rifle. Of course, this had to be on the list. Literally everybody has a 22 long rifle. I don't care if you're a gun guy or not. Odds are you either have one or you know somebody that has one, because these things are just absolutely everywhere. They're not the most powerful rifle, but they can definitely still get the job done, especially at the distances that most encounters are taking place at. I'm willing to bet that in a bad time, you're going to come across a 22 long rifle at some point. I don't care where you are. I don't care how bad the situation is. I don't care how sparsely, I don't care how sparse the population density is in your area. If you are interacting with anybody in a bad time, odds are they will at least know how to get access to a 22 long rifle. On top of that, I'm sure you guys know where I'm going here. 12 gauge shotgun. Doesn't necessarily have to be 12 gauge, but that is going to be the most predominant option that you're going to see here in the United States. 20 gauge is going to be your second most. But 12 gauge shotgun, absolutely everywhere. Again, something like this right here. This is just a pump action shotgun. This particular one is a Winchester Model 1897. Not necessarily the Winchester Model 1897s, but just your pump action shotguns in general. These are absolutely everywhere. Like, this is one of those styles of firearm where even the people who are against civilian firearms ownership are okay with you owning something like this. In every single state, in every single area, in every single sort of situation, there's probably some guy with a shotgun. Every community most likely has at least one dude that has some kind of shotgun or some kind of 22 long rifle. They're just so overwhelmingly popular in the United States, it would be literally impossible not to come across one of those two platforms at any point in time. So, there we go. There's my list. Most likely things that you're going to come across in an SHTF situation. So thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.